This episode of Important If True is brought to you by Warby Parker.
It's a glasses that you wear.
It's true, it is a glasses that you wear. And you can get a home try-on of 5 frames for 5 days for free by going to warbyparkertrial.com/thumbs.
Nice, you can try so many looks.
Try those looks.
We should start a Howard Hughes-themed podcast where we just deliberately don't clean the studio between episodes. And then eventually one milk jar full of yellow fluid appears ominously and very conspicuously.
Show me all the boy bites. Show me all the boy bites.
Show me the boy bites?
Yeah. Show me the boy bites. Show me all the boy bites.
Show me the boy bites.
Show me all the boy bites. Show me all the boy bites. Show me all the boy bites. Show me all the boy bites.
I can't remember anything else in that other than morph boy bites.
Bullfly?
Bullfly.
Bullfly?
Bullfly.
Show me all the boy bites. Bullfly?
Boy bite? Bullfly. Bullfly. Boy bite?
We're not doing this.
Morph boy bite. It's October 5th, 2017.
And this is Important If True.
From Idle Thumbs, I'm Chris Remo.
I'm Nick Brecken.
I'm Jake Rodkin.
Welcome.
I feel welcome, Chris, with that warm greeting. Your warmest greeting of all
It's my
time.
job to give you the
greeting.
warmest greeting. Jake, come here and let me give you a warm greeting.
I do not want you to give me
I
that.
thought you loved a warm greeting. I thought that because you said it just now. Little did I know.
Prefer
turn.
a cold greeting.
Viewers at home, Google McDonald's warmest greetings, and now we will move on.
I wasn't even thinking about that. I want to start this episode by correcting an absolutely unbelievable omission.
A crime that you and I committed last week, a crime of omission.
Yes.
Yeah.
We talked about the notion of babysitting your 10-year-old self.
Fuck off.
Okay, so now you remember what
Took
this
me
is
a while.
about. So we talked about the notion of babysitting your 10-year-old self, completely, entirely omitting the fact that Jake and I both intended to bring up and entirely failed to do, which is that one of us has actually had this experience in life. Nick Brecken has experienced this phenomenon.
Yeah, it's true.
This was like 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah.
You and I were at Disneyland.
We were.
With our partners, and we got on the Grizzly River Rapids ride. It's like a water ride where you get into big kind of like massive sort of inner tube with a bunch of seats, arrayed radially around it, the inner edge. And you just go down a big kind of,
Go tubing.
river. Yeah, you go tubing down
Through some rapids. You go down a waterfall and you slam around.
Exactly. And
water sprays at you and you scream.
Yeah.
Big water spray.
And Sarah and I got on, and then I don't remember exactly how this happened, but I think
I do.
Janelle, I think, got on, and then you were kind of like getting on at the same moment that this kid was getting on.
So it's like any theme park situation, or like for instance like skiing when you have a chairlift. There's always a single rider line.
Yeah,
and that was definitely in play.
I don't remember if it was a single rider line, but this kid was definitely a single rider.
There's always sort of like a weird ripple next to where you board that might have sort of a hole into another time or dimension, sort of just a shimmering sort of tear.
Which we call the single rider line.
Yes.
And instead of, for some reason, like making a motion or saying something to say, that's my girl, I'm going to sit next to my girlfriend, you sort of just awkwardly like fidgeted, and then this kid got on after Janelle in front of you.
Yeah.
And then I think someone else got on too, and then you got on or before him or something. I don't remember exactly how it panned out. But anyway, you got on after that. So you ended up sitting not next to any of us, but next to this kid who looked like he was about, I don't know, I would say probably about 10.
Yeah.
Right?
10 or 11.
10 or 11? I was going to say 11, yeah. And there is a photograph that we actually used without any explanation as the episode art for last week's episode of Important If True. And we'll actually link directly to the unfiltered original photograph on This Week in the description. If you read the description, we'll have it in there. And it's amazing because what it documents is Nick Breckon at Disney California Adventure on the Grizzly River Rapids ride, sitting next to what appears to be, and surely is, a 10-year-old version of himself. It's incredible.
Yeah, you aggressively, again, this is an important if true story that puts the lead like beyond the like in the 3 stories later. This kid looks exactly like Nick.
He looks exactly like Nick.
This kid looks exactly like a child. It looks like
you have the same hair and hair color.
I have no idea what you actually look like as a little kid, Nick.
You're
but
wearing similar glasses.
If a casting director was told, find a 10-year-old Nick Breckon, and there was just sent you, and that kid like walked by the window of their office, they'd be, hold on, and like jump up and grab that kid, and say, sit down right now next to Nick Breckon on this Rapids ride, and make him think that he's babysitting you.
And the kid was alone, and he was carrying a like big SLR camera case that he was sort of clutching protectively to his chest. He was like looking around nervously, sort of neurotically, like inspecting his surroundings the whole time. And the one thing I ever remember this kid uttering is when we got to the edge of the biggest drop, this huge waterfall, this kid like sort of clutches his camera close to his chest, looks around and goes, "Oh geez."
Yeah.
And then we plunge over. Yep. And the photograph of the two of you is amazing because you're both making the same expression where you're kind of like puffing your cheeks out a bit and just you have that look of just like, well, guess this is.
So what's funny is my gut reaction. I didn't actually react to the question when this was recorded. You know, the question was originally posed. But in the back of my head, if it was sort of my turn to speak, what I was going to say, because I thought through it, I was like, all right, what would I say to my 10-year-old self without having thought of this picture or this incident?
Yeah.
My gut reaction was I would hold him in contempt and he would hold me in contempt. And we would both, and that was what I was going to say. I had a whole thing about just like how... You would probably like we would have problems with each other, but then secretly we would therefore be essentially the same personality. You know, I mean, like exactly. We'd have a bond in sort of hating each other, and
like a silent bond of solidarity.
It's like externalized self-loathing.
Exactly, and then that picture was unearthed, and I realized that's exactly that's actually what happened. So
maybe it was that.
Maybe it happened. Maybe dreams do come true. Or nightmares. Anyway.
Your deepest truths.
Yeah.
Important if true.
Just a little bit of that Disney magic.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly.
Sprinkle a little pixie dust over your vacation weekend.
Yep.
If you could imagine or wish that your dream comes true at Disneyland, what would it be? If you're babysitting yourself, you have been replaced by a robot.
Don't you wish you could be a kid again? Well, we can't do that, but we can show you.
We can
this
put
kid
next to an actor cast as a childhood version of you.
When you wish upon a star,
make you hate
your
yourself.
deepest, darkest dreams come true. When you wish upon a star, your truest dreams
your truest self.
When you wish upon a star, a dream that you had will be selected and made manifest before you.
Dumbledore.
Yeah.
So we'll put that photo up. It's one of our favorite photos
here at Idle Thumbs.
Did I take it? I don't even remember. Sarah might have taken it.
I think you took it because you're the one who posted it on Facebook. I asked Sarah for it, and she said, no, Chris took that and directed me.
Yeah. We found it from like years ago on Facebook. Yeah. It's very, very good. And even if you don't know Nick Breckon personally like we do, I think just the image, the two faces kind of looking away from each other with this resigned, bizarre kind of self-awareness is really something to behold.
It's great.
Yeah, it's one of the best pictures. Anyway, what are we actually talking about today?
You guys want some good old-fashioned robot news?
Sure, why not?
Like this is the truest sense. It's just a time that robots were in the news.
If you had to babysit the 10th episode of your podcast,
Be classic robot news. This is some robot news that kind of touched my heart and made me have bittersweet feelings about robots. So I thought I would share it with you guys. Okay. The CBC, which I guess is the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation. On last Friday, they had a retirement party for their 5 male robots. These are
like
they're like
gendered, or they deliver post.
The robots, in fact, are genderless, or maybe they were gendered because some of them were named. One of them is named Mom, but no, it's MAIL. Okay. It is male delivery robots. They're basically like large rectangular filing cabinets on wheels, but they have some awareness of walls and doors, and I think of the routes they're supposed to take. And they've basically, for 25 years, have been roving, one per floor, I think, of the CBC, delivering mail to all the different departments. I only knew about what a mail robot was because I saw The Americans, the TV show, in which a male robot in the FBI, I think, is used, like Russian spies put a microphone inside of the male robot to sort of rove around the office. Yeah. And also the movie Flight of the Navigator has a notable NASA male robot the kid hides in to get from his secured facility to like the place where they're hiding the spaceship he wants to go to.
Are male robots, sorry, you probably just said this, but are they
I think that they work kind of like did you ever have like a little toy truck as a kid that had the motor in it that sort of, if it sensed a wall, it would bonk into it and back up and move? I think the male robots they're of that level of
seems not ripe for hijinks.
It's not quite that bad, but the retirement party was actually really sweet. So they have 5 male robots, and their names are Rasputin, Basher, Move It or Lose It, Maze-Mobile, and Mom, which I looked up. They were all named in contests. Each floor of the CBC headquarters got to name their male robots, and the different departments got to choose, and they won.
When were they put into service? In like 1992 or something?
25 years. Yeah. So,
Wow.
And Twitter is just full of nostalgic CBC employees posting videos of like, that time the male robot pinned me against a wall, or like that time that it got stuck on a door handle.
It said, haha, just kidding. I would never harm you.
It's all the most bittersweet stuff. It actually reminds me of the relationship that the characters have with Hal in 2001, except for the part where he tries to kill them, or the relationships that Sam Rockwell has with Gertie in Moon, where no one tries to kill them, including like at the retirement party, these robots are covered in like Post-it notes saying goodbye, old friend, and like they have all sorts of stuff.
Sad.
The thing, like, they're these just sort of lumbering beasts that were built by people to do a menial task. And by retired, I worried that it meant they were going to be dismantled, but apparently a bunch of museums want them, so I think they're going to be turned off, and they're not going to be able to do their job anymore. But it was an interesting reminder of how easy it is for people to personify something just out of familiarity, even with it
anthropomorphize it.
Yeah. With just, even though all that it does is literally sort of rove around and it beeps.
Yeah.
People surely have emotional attachments to this rolling beeping thing.
Yeah.
Which means that when real robots show up, it's going to be really interesting to watch what actually happens when they can express more than just nothing.
Yeah. Do you think that there is more or less of that in the case of robots that are intentionally made to seem like I don't use Siri because I find it just kind of I just don't I don't want to use voice control on my phone. I just don't like the idea of it. But do you think people have more or less of a personal connection with Siri, which is named like a human and designed to sort of sound and respond to you like a human? Do you think they have more or less of a personal connection with that than with this male robot, which makes the designers made no attempt to anthropomorphize it?
It has to be less, but that's, I think, an uncanny valley thing. I mean, the movie
Her... That would be my guess as well.
The movie Her sort of postulates that once a Siri-style assistant can cross that threshold and actually start asking you meaningful questions about yourself and sort of retain enough information about you to let you put more of yourself into it, that might change. I mean, that's her. It's cheesy to talk about Her as an example of that, but like a male robot is almost like a dog or something, where like it loves me. I mean, obviously, pets actually have emotional attachments to humans, but arguably you put a lot into that relationship that is just reflected out of it being a creature that is near you all the time, that occasionally helps you out or does something interesting.
Yeah. That said, I saw a study recently that suggests that, contrary to popular belief and sort of tropes about cats, apparently, so that someone did a study where they sort of gave cats 4 different kinds of stimulus, which include food, human contact, like social interaction with humans, and then 2 other things. I don't remember what the other things were.
Are you going to say that cats view humans as terrain?
No, quite the opposite. In fact, what was determined was that cats will actually, they crave human contact to the point that if they have to choose, they will take human interaction over food.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, much to the contrary.
Wow.
I think to the contrary to the popular sort of line about cats, which is that they don't care about humans. They're totally fronting.
Huh.
They crave humans desperately. So I mean,
much like the male robot, craves humans, as evidenced by multiple videos posted by CBC people of robots just like getting uncomfortably close and pinning into walls and sort of like hanging out at doors waiting. One a reporter for the CBC, I think for CBC Radio, posted a tweet about this, and one of the replies that was my favorite one is someone named Paul Grenier says, "They were my robots. I am their dad. First batch in 1992, I had to wire each of them myself to set off Radio Shack doorbells behind closed doors."
Wait, what?
Like, apparently, the robots couldn't get through doors that were closed, and they had to then be able to know how to, like, mash into a doorbell, and this guy...
Wow.
So...
Wait, what do you mean know how to? Do they have to know how to, or do they just end up doing it because you put them in places?
Presumably... I don't know. He said... He didn't elaborate. He said, I had to wire each of them myself to set off Radio Shack doorbells behind closed doors. So I don't know how much logic or intelligence...
Maybe it was pressure plates in the floor.
Maybe, yeah.
Man, that's a good device for when this turns into a horror movie. Which is you're like alone in the office at 2 a.m. and then the doorbell rings.
And then
and then you get your mail.
Let me see if I can hear one of them. This is one stuck on a door handle. And then the door handle's open and they just beep nicely.
Yeah.
They're just good friends. They're just like the robotic equivalent of a gentle beast of burden, basically.
Yeah, exactly. They're like a lumbering,
they just sort of move around doing their jobs and don't complain, and occasionally they make a mistake, and then they back up in a way that is polite seeming, and then they just go back to delivering mail.
Yeah.
It's really easy to understand why everyone feels
totally.
like so sad about
and
these guys.
They're also like an institution, right? They've been there probably longer than the average employee that interacts.
Yes, yeah. The
so
quotes.
Like, when I got here, you were already here.
The quotes in the article include the eulogy. We have been cornered by them. We have opened doors for them. We have seen them run into walls, and now we are saying goodbye. And then the other quote is, "I was here when they were children," from someone who's clearly worked there for like 30 years or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Anyway, good. That's a good dumb robot that is a good friend.
Man, imagine what it's going to be like when your boss is a robot, and you
say goodbye to your boss.
We're retiring you to a museum.
No, please do not.
I'm your boss.
I'm the boss.
I'm the boss now.
Time to retire, boss.
No.
Sorry, boss. You've been replaced by a mail kiosk that will be filled twice weekly with your division's mail, which is what's happened to these CBC robots. I did realize that the true story that they should have found is the person who 25 years ago was forced to retire early because they got CBC
replaced by the mail robot.
No.
That person is not invited to this retirement party. That person is smoking a cigarette somewhere in Canada. Just
that
person
is working for a museum right now, like twiddling their fingers.
We love this mail robot.
We totally, definitely, we need it for our collection.
We're very interested in the history of this
the
mail
exhibit
robot.
about Canadians' inter-office mail carriers is being replaced by an exhibit about this mail robot, so you're free to go. Thank you. It's been really great having you as a docent in this Museum of Canadian Communication for 25 years.
Your curation is no longer
Anyway,
as he leaves, the robot is
here's a box to clear out your stuff.
It just wheels up.
Mom is here to bring you your box. Your locker has also been replaced by this robot.
Yeah, he gets as he's waiting in the office, like he can't wait for to make his big announcement about acquiring these robots, and then he just gets a little doorbell ding.
Bing dong! It's a use it or move it here to tell you that your time is up.
Stupid.
What? You're not allowed to end any segment on this podcast by declaring it stupid, as if there's some unique facet to this one.
I'll cut that out.
No, don't. I thought it was time for some robot positivity, Chris, to talk about robots that served a long career working alongside humans.
Fuck you. That doesn't not allowed to happen.
I know. And then no, they probably replaced some poor Canadian broadcaster employee's job twice. Their job and then also their fun retirement job.
Right, yeah. Well,
sorry,
also
we're retired now.
They're
Get
fucking
out.
like Count of Monte Cristo, 2.5 decade long game, fun hobby retirement
hoisted
revenge plan.
Fucking owned by that robot just lumbering and everyone going, oh, it's so cool, this robot. I'm just like, fuck, Jesus, fuck, okay. I'm dead now. And that robot's like, I'm never going to die as long as I'm maintained.
How many parts of it can be replaced before it's no longer the same mom?
It's mom of Theseus.
Yeah. How many parts of your mom can be replaced before she's no longer your mom?
Wow, fucking
before
burn.
She becomes a male robot. How many organs and body parts of your mom can be replaced with parts from this male robot before she too is a male robot? Interesting philosophical. How
many parts of Chris Remo can be replaced before
that happened?
Yeah.
Ding dong.
Stupid.
There was another news story that seems like it's kind of thematically relevant to the male robot thing. Just in the sense of like rolling. Okay, maybe not. Well, anyway, maybe I'm totally off base with that. But the gist is Google has a new program called Street View Ready, which will make it possible for anyone with the right hardware to contribute to its Street View imaging database, typically assembled using Google's official 360-degree camera-toting Street View cars. The first camera officially designated Street View Auto Ready is Insta360's Pro camera, the 8K 360 camera which captures still images at up to 5 frames per second and which has real-time image stabilization built in.
Okay, yeah. So I hadn't thought about this in terms of those moving or the male robots, but it's because I hadn't fully unpacked what I now imagine Google's plan for this could be. What I thought about at first was merely what Google has said that it is, which is
we all know that's only the first step.
You can buy a 360-degree high-res camera that Google has certified as okay to post images up to Street View, and then you can post your own Street View images. That in and of itself is fascinating, mostly for the boundary testing that I hope that immediately unlocks in people. Like,
sure.
Like you'll be able to figure out, I think, what Google actually values. Like, does Google value having more content in Street View, or do they value that it's good content? Like, for instance,
you mean you'll be able to determine this based on what actually ends up showing up?
Yeah, I mean, you can get this camera, and then you can be like, okay, I found some mountain town somewhere, but I put a Captain Picard cardboard stand-up in every photo that I put there. And like, great, that content is now on Google Street View, but there's a fucking Star Trek guy literally in every single one. Or like you know, your friend is like just walking down the street of every part of this place that previously had not been there. Or like, do they value new content over old? Even if it's like new community provided content, does that get rated higher?
Yeah.
So like, could you take a picture of the outside of your house every single day, but like move the shit around in the window so that if someone does the historic thing, they would see a stop motion like drama.
Yeah.
Like, because Google keeps verifying it just because it's newer data.
Right. Yeah.
I'm
totally.
sure there's going to be some aggressively complicated algorithm.
Yeah.
But you talking about the male robots made me think, oh, I wonder if they're going to somehow incentivize or monetize this. Like, if I become a Street View content creator, like if I'm pushing a ton of stuff that Google deems valuable, will I be allowed to put a little AdWords ad on my page of Google Maps? If so, that mail carrier who got put out of business by these mail robots had better collect all 5 of these mail robots and put 360-degree cameras on them and send them up into like northern Canada or someplace and just send them off into the world and monetize that Google Street View content.
You know, that makes me think, are they, have you guys seen how on Google Maps now, if you zoom, just not on the Street View, but just on normal maps, if you zoom all the way down into sort of certain kinds of large buildings like airports and shopping malls, it'll actually give you the map data for inside the building, and including down to like floor 1, floor 2, floor 3 that you can click between, and it'll show you all the like, individual shops and sort of amenities in there. What, could you put a mail robot in the airport and have it like trundle along the sort of terminal concourse?
Could you list the inside of your friend's house on Street View without their permission?
Exactly, right?
You're like, I house sit it for you. Also, I just let my mail robot roll around with my 360 certified camera. Anyway, your entire house as of last Saturday is now a destination in Google Maps that you can get walking directions inside of.
To combine that with your sort of time-lapse idea, what if you hide one of these cameras inside a teddy bear in your friend's living room?
A teddy bear in the very middle of the room with an orb coming out of its head. Ignore me. I'm here. Just don't look at me. Whatever. Just a bear.
Yeah, and it just sits there for years because they don't move it for years because it looks expensive.
I've given you a very modern chandelier. Don't touch it.
Oh, God.
Oh, yeah.
It has a teddy bear in it.
In a chandelier, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, so they have a teddy bear hanging from their chandelier with a Street View orb on it.
They have a mail robot hanging from a chandelier. You get your friend really emotionally attached to this mail robot, then hang it from their ceiling as art.
You could just make your friend the subject of a years-long sort of stalking / surveillance, public surveillance Google Street View campaign where all of the content you submit to Street View has this person in it. So you just like follow them down the street everywhere they're going, so that every like... But it's like really good. You make sure
you're like, I was just pranking you by putting your entire life on the world's largest, most popular website. Yeah, just
what, Google.com?
Yeah, yeah. Just, I mean, it's also it's so weird.
Yeah.
I streamed it on Twitch. Also, I sold posters on Redbubble. It was just a goof. Gotcha. Anyway, I'm really glad that you respected my wishes to not look at any part of the internet for the last year.
Well, that's the thing. You'd never notice until you started like looking for it, right?
This is like a fucked up version of the game where like a year later, like, happy birthday, and look, and you just like slideshow through the fact that you've surveyed every detail of their life, but through sort of like pseudo public but fucked up actually corporate record keeping online.
Yeah.
Jesus.
I mean, is it different than how just people are in Street View normally anyway?
I don't know. I guess if you just keep it to Street View, it is because there's a fucked up intent to it.
Right, but what's the actual difference in the real world?
Fair enough. Okay, your artist statement is complete.
I mean, I might just be arguing against Google more than for anything else, but maybe I'm arguing for following the Brecken around for 10 years.
You would be using the systems built by Google in the means in which they are intended, but you would be violating the spirit of sort of the pact we have as humans.
I feel like that pact has been broken by all this shit anyway. The seal's open. I'm just
you're surfing that slippery slope and doing some sweet tricks on the way down,
exactly,
basically.
Yeah, I'm kickflip to Indy down this sweet slope.
Yeah, I guess. But like, I also left an iPhone. It said in dictation mode in your bag, and here's a Kindle ebook of it that I sold. Like, it's just technology that exists.
By Siri. She's my favorite author. So true to life.
Yeah, I imagine that mostly what this is for is like you hike out on a hiking trail and you can take photos or whatever. But the idea that it could turn into sort of a weird Uber-esque anyone can monetize it is not what I had expected.
Is that true? Do you know anything? Is it monetizable?
I don't think it is. But just thinking about...
there aren't ads on Google Maps currently, are there?
I'm sure there's a little banner ad in the bottom corner of various pieces. And there's like promoted businesses can get listed and stuff the same way as Yelp.
Inside of,
but,
that's true.
I mean, there weren't ads on YouTube for a long time until people started actually being able to create their own content and put it inside of it.
Oh, that's true. I see what you're saying. So you're saying just by virtue of the fact that people are going to be uploading free content to them.
Yeah, what if they decide we want to start incentivizing it, and then it's like...
Well, that actually already they already do that to some degree in the sense that They just don't do it by paying you money because they don't have to. The more I think about this, actually, the way for a long time, my Google Maps, it's constantly tracking like everywhere you go via your phone. That's just a thing that it does. And I think Apple does this as well. And for a long time, mine just didn't work for some reason. I didn't know that it was even a thing, and there was just something about mine that didn't work. But it started working like a year ago, and since then, Google will like send me emails and be like, "Oh, it looks like you were in such and such city. Like, why not fill out a review of this place or like upload some photos about this place?" And if you do that, they give you points that just go up on a scale. And it's called the Google Maps Local Contributors or something like that. And there's all these things you can do. It's like, verify these details. Are these the true opening hours for this restaurant?
That's like the Foursquare style
yeah,
rewards,
but they're incredibly deep. They're like, they go really deep. And anyway, the reward is like, here are some points on a scale. But if you actually look at it, it just goes up basically forever. And it's like it's almost a logarithmic scale where it's like, you get 1 point for doing most things, but you need like 100,000 points to get, the highest level or what. I don't know how high it goes or whatever. But it's like there's fucking millions of people doing this, and they're certainly not getting paid anything.
That's very different though than if Google starts opening this and introduces something like this is like a weird conversation. This is not funny. Sorry, but just like the notion of a Google Maps Partners program that's similar to like YouTube Partner or something, where it's like you are a major contributor of data to our service that is of direct. I feel like basically, are you a Lyft driver? Literally stick this on your car, and you're also contributing updated Street View data. That's the sort of thing that I could see them basically charging.
Yeah, but I could
giving
also,
pennies to.
But I could also see rich nerds just buying this because they think it's cool and uploading it for free because they think it's cool.
Those people can get points, but the hundreds of basically worker drivers that are in every city in this country would do it for money in 3 seconds. Then Google wouldn't have to have their own fleet of cars anymore.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
But like the true like expanding brain, like Galaxy Brain version is the person who has 5 retired male robots driving the streets.
Should we take a break?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This episode of Important If True is brought to you by Warby Parker. Prescription eyeglasses and sunglasses. Sent to your home, and you can get 5 frames to try on for free for 5 days by going to warbyparkertrial.com/thumbs.
Do you wear like one pair a day to see how they look?
You very well could. Actually, yeah, you could.
If you
could try them out, walk around in them.
Yeah.
I mean, their lenses are blank; they do nothing.
Right, so but you can see.
The glasses do nothing, but you can definitely check out your look.
You can see how the world responds to you differently on each day, and then wonder if it was the frames, or if it was just that you were having a good day, or if it was just that it was Tuesday.
Yeah,
and then if you keep them for 6 days, I imagine you're fucked.
Well, not quite. I mean, you have to return them. They give you more leeway than one day, definitely. But you can't keep them forever.
Oof.
So, yeah, I'm now wearing my new Warby Parker. What did you call these? The Kevin Costner NASA dad glasses. Yeah.
Oh wow, you brought them.
I did. I brought them in.
Oh, it's too bad Nick isn't here to see this.
I know.
WarbyParker.com?
WarbyParkerTrial.com/thumbs.
There it is.
This episode of Important If True is brought to you by Quip. Electric toothbrushes.
Is that what it sounds like? Like the sound I just made when it runs?
Do it again. Yeah, that's what it sounds like.
I kind of went, which is like if you. That's when you need that free battery.
Yeah, exactly.
Pack.
When it starts to like kind of shrug a little bit.
It's like.
That's how you know. There's a little like sort of pause in the to let you know when to switch quadrants of your teeth, and then there's kind of a non-committal like, when you know it's time to switch your battery and your brush head refill. And you can get $10 off your first brush head refill by going to tryquip.com/thumbs. They send you a new brush head, a new battery every 3 months, so you always have that great, nice new brush head It's not all old and busted.
Wow.
It's new and fresh and clean.
Is that what your friends sound like when they see your clean teeth?
Yeah, exactly.
And then,
they just
they go,
wow. Yeah, well,
they're like, I'm not really your friend that much.
I just
your teeth
really
are great,
like your
though.
teeth.
Yeah.
You take or leave.
But those teeth, give me them.
Give me them right now. And they punch out all your teeth and take them. But they're beautiful.
But they're nice teeth.
They're so nice.
Yeah.
They're gonna live on the mantle of this strange
of your frenemy.
Of your frenemy. I think
this is the tipping point.
Are they your friend or are they your enemy? They're your frenemy. No. Now you know.
So
now you know.
What's the website you should go to?
Tryquip.com/thumbs.
Right. Go there to get this product that will help you separate the wheat from the chaff of your friend, of your frenemy and enemies.
Tryquip.com/thumbs.
Computer. I was activating the computer.
Oh yeah, that's how you do it. All right, are we back?
Yeah, we're back.
Sure.
Oh, I heard that we were back.
Oh, good. Hello. Hi, Chris.
Right.
It's been confirmed. We are back.
The return of Important If True confirmed.
The long-awaited return. We have an email from Luke, who writes, Dear Thumbs, when I was about 5, I would press the stop button obsessively at crossings, relishing the experience of making the cars obey my will. When I was 12 or so, I realized how absurd it was that anyone would put a button on the road that let a child stop traffic. I felt scornful of my past self for his naive enthusiasm. When I was maybe 16, I realized that it was stupid to think that people would install walk buttons that didn't work. I felt scornful of my 12-year-old self for his unthinking cynicism. In my 20s...
When I was 17?
Yeah, I know. This is like the worst Sinatra song.
Yeah. I was scornful of myself.
In my 20s, I read an article about New York walk buttons not doing anything and realized that of course the buttons were useless and designed to give us the illusion of control. I cursed my 16-year-old self for his naive faith in public infrastructure. After hearing your podcast, I found out that most of the buttons around where I grew up in London function perfectly well. Obviously, as most public infrastructure works fine unless there's some particular reason for it not to. I curse my mid-20s self for his faux world-weary cynicism. This is by far the largest number of times I've decided that the same closely held belief was totally wrong. What are your personal bests? Best, Luke. Bests. That's a good... I was actually trying to think of the song as I was reading it, and I couldn't, so I'm glad you pulled it out. But the notion of, like, when I was 17, I was scornful of myself, actually reminds me of you saying about your young self that if introduced, you would simply sit there in resentful silence.
Yeah.
You know.
They'd both be thinking, he thinks the buttons don't do anything. He thinks the buttons do something.
What an idiot. I scorn him.
Oh, yeah.
Meanwhile, in the corner, there's like even 10 years older version of yourself peeking around, being like, those morons. I scorn them.
Young Nick hates old Nick, but, you know, I don't know how.
Yeah. You've just got a chain of Nick Breckons sort of following each other.
Oldest Nick is, what I've learned is in some cities the buttons work and in others they don't.
What I've learned is it doesn't matter.
Yeah, right.
Because we're all gonna die. That's 17 actually.
Expanding
well,
brain.
yeah,
yeah. This is buttons make no. They don't prolong the inevitable death. Of
right.
All
Nick, who has ascended up to the centipede realm, looks down.
Yeah, right.
None of these are actually buttons.
Yeah.
I racked my brain trying to come up with a story of myself flip-flopping to that degree or anything close, and I couldn't, but I feel like this is a good fable that teaches you should just press the button. If you have an opportunity to affect change in a way that you want, don't let a person, including your younger self, including your preconceived notions, don't let an article that you've read tell you that the button will not do something.
Yeah.
Fucking push the button.
That's a really good...
Just don't sit there because you were told that the button doesn't do anything. Just push the fucking button.
Or talk yourself out of it.
Or talk yourself out of it. Either way.
Yeah.
Like, if you're given the power to affect the change that you want, just do it. Just try pressing the button. Maybe it doesn't actually hook up into anything. Maybe your later self will scorn yourself. But maybe your even later self will scorn that second self.
Yeah.
That's all that I'm saying. Push the button. If you see a button, push it no matter what, is the moral.
That's definitely the moral. That's definitely the lesson I'm taking.
Oh, sorry, I took that one step too far. Wait for me next
Always
week.
Press a button because you don't want to be scorned by your future self.
Sorry, earlier me in this case did have it right. And the me 3 seconds later that said press every button was wrong.
Well, I don't know. I mean, you don't want to be scorned by older Jake, who was right the first time. I mean, you're always right about everything because you might be right someday. So don't ever think you're wrong about anything.
No, I had a good read.
Because future self could scorn you.
I was right. And then we kept
Live
talking
your
and
whole life in fear of future self scorning you. For like this is like creating a new analysis paralysis where it's, should I do that? I should do all the things. Like I need to cover every base because future self could scorn me.
No, I guess no. Yes, that's true. This no matter what. It will spiral you into existential dread and demise.
Yeah, and the possible scorn of your future self.
And the possible scorn of your future self.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's the part that does it. Just thinking about that will just inevitably wind you just deep into your own mind until you are nothing. At which point you achieve true enlightenment and ascend to the rainbow centipede realm.
Yeah, and then at that point, scorn has no
meaning.
It glances off your centipodian shitness. What I don't even know what a chitinous hide. They don't have chitin.
Their chitinous hide.
I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, but yeah, you should just press the button to cross the street.
No, your point was well taken. Yeah.
But I like the part about it making you insane, and then you have a chitinous hide.
That's the best part about pressing the button, is it might make you insane and cause you to develop a chitinous hide. The strangest.
When I was 17,
I had a chitinous hide.
Basically a standard at this point.
Yeah, it's a classic.
He changed the lyrics to that song so many times due to, I think, this.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. He could never quite nail it down because he was always worried that.
I read an article that said that year wasn't that good.
Yeah, I had to pick a better, different year because I was afraid that my future self would scorn me for choosing that year. So I tried to figure out which of my selves existed in the best year. It was definitely the chitinous hide year. Let's be clear.
That was the final year for Then and Evermore, though.
Frank Sinatra's chitinous hide. It's the best children's book that I mean, certainly the best one I ever read. I mean, I only feel that way because I'm really concerned about my future scorn.
Right.
Jesus, I gotta break myself out of this. I feel like I am already going crazy from just having this conversation. Man, speaking of actually things for children.
This podcast.
Yeah.
This is podcast is for babies. Children are much older and
That's
wiser.
True. Children are wiser.
Yeah.
They scorn us babies and our chitinous hides. Of all the phrases to like sort of dampen the meaning of through repetition, chitinous hide.
Well, that already had no meaning.
All right. Is your guy writes, I was looking through the podcasts that the Australian Broadcasting Corporation produces and found...
We only talk about various
Commonwealth Broadcasting
Corporations on this episode.
Anyway, I was looking through the podcasts that the Australian Broadcasting Corporation produces and found one in particular that jumped out at me. It was an ethics podcast called Short and Curly. I don't know what that means. Aimed to teach kids that some issues aren't as clear-cut as they might appear. Here are a few.
Why would you call that podcast that? Anyway, whatever.
I don't know. I actually tried to find out, and I couldn't figure out why you would call a children's ethics podcast Short and Curly.
That's a subject of a later episode of an adult ethics podcast.
Yeah. Here's a few episode titles that give me pause. Can you trust a robot? Is Dumbledore as great as he seems? Should pugs exist? Can robot soldiers make armies better? That goes off in a fucking...
Those are good. Those are actually really good questions for kids and adults.
Here's the link.
Is Dumbledore that great?
I don't know. I mean, I literally don't know because I don't really know anything about Dumbledore. But I do know he's gay.
That's true.
True fact. Here's the link if you're interested, and it's a link at at abc.net.au if you search for Short and Curly. Cheers is your guy, Australia. I find this to be fascinating. I love the idea of an ethics podcast for children.
Yeah.
I think that's just straight up, I think that's really good. And some of these are very good topics. I did look into more of it, and there are there is kind of there's definitely sort of a theme.
Do you think that like a thesis could be put onto this by way of reading this?
Possibly. I don't know. You tell me.
Okay.
I mean, for what it's worth, Can You Trust a Robot was the very first episode of the podcast. So that's sort of interesting. There are a lot of things having to do with the rights of children, which, makes sense given the target audience.
Sure.
Why can't children vote, for instance? I actually listened to that episode, and this is like a long. I mean, it's like a 20-minute podcast. It's not short. It's it's short and curly. I would not. I mean, relative to like the attention span of a child, I would call it neither short nor curly. But we also have. Should chimps have the same rights as kids? Which is like some of these questions. I feel like you could make an argument.
Well, is that because a chimpanzee has the intelligence of a small toddler, basically? Is that presumably the thesis of it?
Yeah, I haven't listened. I only listened to the one, but presumably that is. Do you have to love your sibling? Should you eat your pet? Should you move to Mars? Like, I feel like if you assemble too many of these, it starts to get into a weird. There's like,
it's like a passive-aggressive.
Should you move to Mars?
Should you maybe consider not living on this planet anymore? Should an animal have all the rights you have and you should just leave? Should you trust a robot? I mean, they're basically just as good as you.
This is actually a slow burn to just make all Australian children feel unwanted.
Yeah. Yeah.
A chimp is basically as smart as you. A robot is deserving of your love.
And
will replace you in the armed forces.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. It'll take your future job, much as the male robot.
The CBC has reported on this, and now the ABC asks children in an admonishing way about it.
Yeah.
Should you be replaced by the Canadian male robots that our government has bought?
One question I have about these topics, or one topic in particular, is Dumbledore as great as he seems? Really feels to me more like. That's like an opinion. That's a sort of an opinion.
Yeah.
I guess
even
is an
should
opinion,
you move to
like,
Mars is kind of.
Should you move to Mars?
I don't know.
It's not really something that you have any control over. Yeah. But is Dumbledore as great as he seems? Feels more like a. That feels more like a sort of.
It's like a slanted opinion article.
Opinion. Yeah. More than like an ethical conundrum.
I think that they're putting that in a kid's podcast to make them question a heroic figure in children's literature at all, though, right? Like if you're a kid, you've probably just, because the book says Dumbledore is great.
Yeah.
And only bad people in the book say that Dumbledore is bad. It's probably, saying, well, he's a character for whom, in some cases, the ends justify the means, but he's portrayed universally as heroic in the eyes of the kids.
They're both sidesing Dumbledore.
They're both. They're both sidesing Dumbledore.
Yeah,
I'm totally all right with that.
Yeah.
But
what did Dumbledore do? What did Dumbledore wrong?
I don't know if he did anything wrong ultimately, Chris. Find out on my ethics podcast. What do Dumbledore do?
Dumbledy doodledy.
I don't want to get into the ethics of Dumbledore, Chris.
That's fair enough. That's a fair point. I wouldn't have the capacity to deal with it probably anyway.
Well, see, Chris, there's this secret world in which wizards exist. It's our world, but they have their own place in time where there's wizards. So,
nice.
I don't want to get into Dumbledore.
No one does. Well, one guy does. After all, we know Dumbledore's sexual preferences.
Oh my God!
Jesus,
erased. Stupid. Jesus Christ.
Stupid is the new clap.
It's literally the only thing I know about Dumbledore.
Yeah.
So I have nothing else to go on.
Sure.
We have
Christ, Ramo.
Well, some call me that. We have a number of emails regarding children and things for children on this episode, weirdly. Ben writes, how did Clifford become so big? Clifford was the smallest puppy in his litter, and then Emily Elizabeth, quote, loved him so much, unquote, that he grew to the size of approximately 2 houses. I want my dog to be as big as 2 houses, please. Is Clifford the Big Red Dog a fantasy novel or a science fiction novel? I don't really understand how that last question...
That last question is the best part of that email. That last question is easily the best part. And I think that really Clifford the Big Red Dog, the singular work that we have. I'm sure there are other Clifford books, but I think
there's like 50
dozens,
or more.
yeah.
But I don't know if
if
any of them get into the deep lore of Clifford, and I think that's the stuff that will or would tell you if it's fantasy or sci-fi, because really. Did her love manifest by way of some sort of spell or some sort of perhaps a witch's or wizard's curse?
I mean, maybe
was it that her parents were secretly working for some sort of government science agency, and in the basement there's some sort of centrifuge? And then
they were like, "Oh God, this dog is big. What do we tell her? Your love made it bigger."
Right.
Oh man. Okay.
Yeah, I think that Clifford's origin story is yet to be revealed, and like the love.
What are the ethics of that? I mean, is that like, should you tell your children that you
made her dog big,
disfigured her pet in like?
Well, it's a bonus. I mean, it's a benefit to the
like,
kid.
Forever impact the life of that pet. Probably shorten its lifespan. But
maybe Clifford will live far longer.
Why?
I don't know.
I mean,
would an elephant live longer if it was tiny?
I don't know. I mean, I assume that
that's
should.
also
no. The question is, should an elephant live longer if it's tiny?
Yeah, it's really because the thing you have to tell your kid then is the love you feel for your dog is real, but also it's not. At least not the part.
What?
The effects of the love you have for your dog.
The love you have for your dog is real, but it doesn't do jack shit.
Yeah, it just makes you love your dog, and your dog loves you.
Well, that's
your dog is big because. Your dad made a pact with an evil wizard to fix his job prospects, and your dog got cursed.
Is Dumbledore as great as he seems? Let's be honest. He did a lot of good things for wizards, but he also totally malformed this person's dog.
But she loves the dog. She loves the dog. Chris, she loves that dog so much. The ends justify the means. Dumbledore is great.
I don't know.
I'm just saying. He said, this child needs to experience a love that no child has felt before.
Is she going to
Dumbledore?
Is she going to keep loving it when the bone structure of this dog that was not designed to support a 2,000-pound dog cracks under?
Okay, it's not fantasy or sci-fi. It's horror.
Yeah, what?
It's like body horror.
When it grows a chitinous hide and it just spawns wings and just what?
Clifford : too big? Question mark.
When my dog was 17,
it was fucking gross. When Clifford develops a third nostril and all sorts of just.
It's sort of what it's going to do is it's going to sort of end up like
when Clifford is the size of the house, and a house.
Yeah, exactly. Like in The Fly when he teleports when he turns into half fly, half teleporter machine.
Yeah.
Clifford is just going to be half big red dog, half house because he's going to bust out of the house.
You know what though, Chris? That girl's still going to love that dog.
It's true. Well, I mean, I went to scholastic.com/Clifford when I saw this email.
Is that an ad?
No, that's just what I did to research this question.
Okay, just checking if that was an affiliate.
Brought to you by scholastic.com/thumbs. I mean, there might be something there. I don't know.
Don't go there.
But the first thing on that site is the sort of little sort of origin story of Clifford, which is not actually if you.
Oh, are we going to hear Clifford origins?
Sort of. Not really. Not any more so than we'd already know. But it's different. The original Clifford book just says, Clifford was this dog, whatever, and he's huge, and he's the biggest, reddest dog on the block.
Sounds like a good book.
Yeah, but it doesn't really explain what happened. But if you go to scholastic.com/Clifford, they sort of backfill some of this lore, and the way that they phrase it is, when Emily Elizabeth got Clifford, he was the smallest puppy in the litter. And then the next page, the next slide on this website is her talking to Clifford, and she says, "Clifford, you have to eat up and get big and strong. But remember, I love you no matter what size you are." Which feels like the most passive-aggressive, needling. Well, but she starts off by saying, "Clifford, you have to eat up to get big and strong," and then says, "But don't worry, I'll love you no matter what size."
Yeah, that feels like the ultimate hedge.
That's like a parent who's you got to train to get really good at soccer and win the soccer tournament, but don't worry, I'll love you even if you lose it.
Right, but in this case, we know that Clifford becomes huge.
Yeah, so her passive-aggressive needling totally worked, and he was Clifford lives a life of
bad.
Insecurity and fear of being scorned by his owner because he's like,
it's like I used to be tiny, I can't be tiny again.
Yeah, exactly.
I can't be tiny.
Like, she needs me to be big and strong. Like she's so nice. She says she'd love me no matter what, but I know she really won't unless I get big and strong.
Unless I get big and strong and turn into a Cronenbergian house monster.
Yeah. So Clifford is maybe neither a.
So Clifford is existential horror.
Yeah, it's like a psychological.
It's like a psychodrama.
Drama. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Clifford's interiority is messed up and real sad.
Yeah. His.
So it's more Aronofsky, really.
Yes. Yes, it's
we go from the Black Swan to the Big Red Dog.
I was thinking if it was the sort of like super scientist spy fiction thing, maybe Clifford the Big Red Dog is a crossover to the Americans, and he's actually some sort of misguided Soviet propaganda.
Sure,
the Red Dog.
Yeah, he's a big red dog.
The Big Red Dog. Yeah.
Maybe.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Maybe Clifford's sort of a prestige TV period piece in the making, in the style of Riverdale being the like
Archie,
but like teen crime noir thing. We're gonna get what if Clifford the Big Red Dog is in fact like a secret Soviet technology project, but then like the wrong kid adopted him or something.
Yeah, Emily Elizabeth is an unwitting handler of this
Soviet superweapon,
deep implant Soviet superweapon.
Yeah,
Red Dog.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's the hunt for the Big Red Dog, is I think probably what it is.
Yeah,
it's fine.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we.
So it's neither sci-fi or fantasy. It's spy fiction.
Right.
It's John le Carré's, John Grisham's.
Tom Clancy's
The Hunt for the Big Red Dog.
Yeah.
All right. Solved it.
Figured it out.
Nailed it.
It would actually just be all of those names Clifford. One name, period.
Oh, yeah, that's the reboot for sure.
Yeah.
It's just Clifford.
Yeah. That's the TV show for sure.
Yeah.
Sundays on FX.
Yeah. Should we endorse?
Let's endorse things.
Cool. Nick, what do you got?
I'm going to endorse stretching.
Oh, you.
Okay.
No,
Is this because of your incident?
Well, yeah, caveat, I don't stretch.
Okay.
But I went to the gym a couple days ago and came back from the gym and I was just walking around my house and I bent over to pick up a sock and felt it was the strangest feeling, like physical feeling I've ever felt in my life, where a muscle just completely stopped working in my lower back. And it felt like in my mind as it was happening, I could see it I could feel it happening. I could see what like sort of the third person view of it was like. And in my mind, it was almost like my body just collapsed on itself, like just caved in half.
Yeah, like a big Clifford.
Yeah. This is a time.
You grew too big for
I
your
grew
frame.
too big.
This is a time, by the way, when you were being scorned by your younger
you're
and
definitely-
older self.
Oh, yeah.
Both
my God.
old you looks at you going, you think this is
bad?
You think this is
Well,
bad? And
yeah.
young you goes, look at that
Oh, what
old
an
idiot.
idiot.
Oh,
What a piece of shit.
that is absolutely the case.
Yeah. That kid on that Rapids ride.
When you were 33, it was a very bad year.
Yes.
Because you threw out your back and were scorned by
but not
past
as
and
bad
future
as
selves.
when you were 55 or 66. Say those versions
in
of
which
you.
it was progressively worse.
Yeah. Anyway,
So you endorse stretching.
I enjoy stretching.
When I
it's
was
important.
every age, it was a very bad year.
Yeah, that's pretty true. Anyway,
So you endorse stretching.
I do.
I look forward to an endorsement update on this.
10 years hence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or just like next week.
Next week.
I just
Sure.
wanna see if
I'll
you-
let you know how it
Yeah,
goes.
yeah.
I've never felt like it was that useful, but
Oh, yeah.
now
How's that cold shower
I'm-
capper going, Chris?
This has already
Yeah.
been updated. We already received an update on this.
Oh, that's true.
Jake, what do you got?
All right, I have a follow-up endorsement to one of my previous endorsements. This was actually sent in via reader and reminded me of it. I had seen it before. I endorsed was it 80s.nyc, which is that street view reconstruction of New York from the 1980s.
Yep.
And Tyson wrote in reminding all of us of footage of New York City from the 1980s shot on a sort of prototype or proposed high definition VHS format. So it was shot in 1080i, I think. Like it's interlaced,
That
but
makes
it's still
sense,
like super crisp HD footage of New York City just around town in the 1980s, and it's up on YouTube. Someone's put an HD upload of it on
It was
YouTube.
the 80s? I thought it was 93.
Oh, maybe
I
it's
saw this as well.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Sorry, it was New York in 1993.
Yeah,
and
it is so 90s. Oh my god,
It is great,
It is
though.
like late 80s, early 90s fashion, like women with like the big shoulder pad
pads
suits.
and all that
It's
stuff,
really
yeah.
cool to
amazing.
see because it's so rare to see HD video. Like that's just a technology that was not used very often. Like when you see high definition things that are old, it's because someone committed it to film and then it got rescanned recently as like a 4K or 8K scan, and then you watch it on a Blu-ray or a 1080 or whatever. But also we are so used to seeing just New York City life as portrayed on video because of just every TV show B-roll footage from the 80s or 90s. Like anytime like a Seinfeld establishing shot or whatever, you're used to seeing. I mean, those were probably shot on film, but
Law and Order.
But you're used to seeing it on your CRT television with sort of the artifacts of it's gone through the like 90s broadcast pipeline. So the weird combination of those, of seeing, basically as someone who didn't live in New York, my memory of New York is video of New York, but seeing that crisp, like super crisp, is a really good experience. Like it just feels so much more specific and detailed, and not like just mushy TV, you know? And we'll link it in the show description, but it's just a good video of 93 New York in HD video. And like that paired with
some just fucking impossibly dorky white people.
Yeah.
It is like, I mean, as a white person, God, it's painful how much white people just date themselves instantly. I mean, I say that.
Oh, get ready for the footage.
For the scornful fucking.
The 2017 like DSLR footage of San Francisco life in the south of Market is gonna just be like, God,
fuck off.
Get ready.
Yeah, get that fucking Street View shit going so we can all scorn ourselves.
Look at.
I mean, I scorn it now.
Those beards.
Oh, what a disaster.
Anyway.
But yeah, that 93 New York City was.
It's really good. It's really good stuff to watch. Just. It's just a slice of culture that everyone has had sort of just pushed on them because of just
the
TV sitcoms and crime shows from there. So, but you never see it looking in this particular, like, this aesthetic is a super rare one to catch.
On the, this isn't my endorsement, but I guess I'm going to sort of just side endorse it, chained onto yours. Have you guys seen The Deuce, the new show by David Simon and George Pelecanos, who created and wrote for The Wire? It's about New York. It's about New York's sort of Times Square area and associated
it's like all
kind of prostitution and pornography activity in the 70s. And I've only seen the pilot so far, but it's really cool. And they recreated that kind of series of blocks of New York in an incredible amount of detail, down to like the movies showing on the theater marquees and stuff, and it's really, really cool.
The amount of the way that the streets are aged, and all of the storefronts, and all of the way that the lighting works, and everything else about it. Yeah, the production design on that show is very ridiculous.
So we got 80s.NYC, a 70s New York television show, and a 90s sort of
HD VHS
clip show. So
there
you got your decades of New York. My endorsement is also a follow-up to a past endorsement of mine, and I'm actually going to, to build it on top of an email that we got actually from Jordan, who writes, "Your endorsement of sardines last episode made me think about anchovies and how delicious they are. As a child, I avoided anchovies at all costs because I thought they were disgusting. I thought they were disgusting only because Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles made sure to point out that they were disgusting every time they ordered pizza. This opinion lasted for at least 25 years of my life, until I actually tried them as an adult and realized how betrayed I was. Have you ever been tricked by a turtle conspiracy into hating a very specific food for a very specific reason, or perhaps some other non-turtle form of kid-focused media?" I am going to endorse anchovies because this email is totally correct. Anchovies is one of those foods that gets along with spinach and kind of, I would say, broccoli.
Brussels sprouts.
Lima beans.
Yeah, lima beans is a good one. There's an entire sort of sub-industry of entertainment aimed at convincing kids that these things are terrible, which I'm sure it's based on average taste of children to begin with, but it can push you into an even more extreme assumption than you might otherwise have. And anchovies, I legitimately am endorsing them because I've gotten into anchovies in the last, I would say, year or so. You can get a little glass jar of anchovies from your supermarket that'll keep for a long time and is resealable. And the thing that is great about anchovies is that they are basically like an incredible flavor enhancer for other foods. If you take a couple anchovy fillets, when you're sautéing something, you've got your oil and your garlic and your like onions or whatever you're like doing in your skillet, because you're gonna, saute up your chicken breasts or thighs or whatever you're doing. Before you put your meat in or your fish or whatever else, put in a couple anchovy fillets, kind of break them up in the oil with a wooden spoon or spatula, and they will kind of like infuse this delicious savory flavor into the oil and surrounding things. And at the end, it'll like seep into everything. And at the end of your meal, when you eat it, it doesn't taste like fish or anchovies. It's just this incredible...
It's like fish sauce.
Yeah, it's like this incredible, rich, savory, just booster.
That is the only pitch that I have ever heard that will make me want to eat an anchovy, because whenever I try them, I don't like them. I questioned my Ninja Turtles related thing, and went, still don't like them.
Yeah, I'm not a fan.
I would recommend that if you try them sort of straight, rinse them off to like get rid of some of the excess salt, because that's a pretty intense component. I mean, I love straight up like a real Caesar salad that actually has anchovies in it and everything. That's great. But if you're just not into it, use anchovies in your regular cooking. I will actually recommend a specific recipe that I found on the New York Times for cooking chicken with anchovies. That's what turned me on to this in general. Now I just always have a jar of them in my fridge, and it's a great recipe. And it will just it really does just totally boost the flavor of everything. So you can scorn your young self for turning a blind eye to this delicious food enhancer.
I have a follow-up endorsement to your endorsement.
Oh, okay, man, we're just one-upping each other.
Well, okay, because I've become depressed from your endorsement. So,
Jesus, I'm sorry about that.
Once you've taken some things that you were told as a kid were lame through media, such as anchovies or another food that you discover you like, go and maybe reassess some other childhood opinions, such as the public school system is bad and your teachers are out to get you and are the gatekeepers of all knowledge and responsibility.
Yeah.
Rethink some other things that were drilled into you by 90s Nickelodeon that you've somehow continued to hold as an adult parent with your own children.
Wow. Serious shit.
Yeah.
Dropped by Jake here. No,
I can't abide that shit. Sorry.
No, I totally
So
agree.
step one, eat an anchovy, and then step two, scorn your past self. Like, just fucking go for it.
Man, this episode really came together with a theme. I endorse your endorsement, I guess. Totally into it. Scorning all our past
What
selves.
I'm trying to say is, you know nothing, Dumbledore.
Thank you for listening to Important If True.
A garbage thing that you shouldn't ever listen to. Sorry, but you'll reassess that in a couple years and realize that it was great.
Put us aside for a few episodes. Don't do that. Scorn that. What am I talking about? Thanks for listening to Important If True. If you have a question for us, you have any sort of problems you're dealing with, anything on which you need our consultation, advice, or answers, you can send those to questions@importantiftrue.com, and we will do our best. Our website is importantiftrue.com, and there you can find all the places that we reside on the internet. You can subscribe to the show, find our forums, and discuss these episodes with other listeners. And if you do like the show, please consider telling a friend or rating us on iTunes. It really helps us out, especially telling other people about the show. Direct recommendations are really the only way we have to spread the word. So with that is it for this episode of Important If True. Jake is giving me a sign.
I have a proposed slogan replacement to destroy Stay Spicy, which is, remember, the difference between hoist and host is I.
Whoa! Very good.
There you go, Chris.
Very good. All right.
I've been working on that. You've
been workshopping that one privately?
I accidentally thought of it the other day and wrote it down and just saw it on my phone.
Yeah, fair enough. All right. Well, for Idle Thumbs, I am Chris Remo.
I'm Nick Brecken.
I'm Jake Rodkin.
And Jake, the difference...
Stay spicy. is it? What the fuck?
What is it anyway? God damn it! What is it with ball flies? What's the deal with boy bites? What is it? Morphed boy bite with
5th.
ball fly.
A clock. And this
Is ball fly.
is
I'm boy bite.
I'm Morph.
Rotomat CG Bowser or whatever.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
It.
With accompanying mats.
That's the name of our retro like video compositing podcast on which all of the hosts' names are Matts. Or if you guys both were named Matt.
Right, yeah. And you were named ball fly.
Yeah. Morphed boy bite with the accompanying Matts.
With accompanying mats.
Gross. It's October 5th, 2017.
And